Good evening, friends, and welcome to Reflection on the Rock at Covenant United Methodist Church. I'm Reverend Ann Kemper. Now, 3 years ago, we aired a series of interviews talking with friends in our neighborhood. And one of the most popular was a conversation with Reverend Dr. Cynthia Rasmussen. She's the rector at St. Mark's and St. John's Episcopal Church up the street on Culver Road. Dr. Rasmussen led her church to develop a community garden ministry. Her story is an inspiration to us all how communities can come together to make the neighborhood a better place. This ministry not only still exists, but it has grown to several more gardens. Enjoy this inspiring and uplifting rerun from August 9th, 2021. Hello, my friends. Welcome to, I would say Covenant United Methodist Church, but as you can tell, we're not there. This is a little bit different background than what you're used to when you watch our Reflections on the Rock. Today I am talking with Reverend Dr. Cynthia Rasmussen, who is the rector at St. Mark's, St. John's, up the street from us on Culver Road. And Cindy has cultivated numerous community gardens throughout the Beechwood neighborhood. This one is a little bit unique to Covenant in that it's the lot that used to have the infant daycare center on it. And for any of you who know the story, back in the late 80s, Covenant decided to buy this building and turn it into an infant daycare center, and it ran quite successfully for many years. And then for a variety of reasons, had to be closed. So, long roundabout story, the building was eventually torn down. And I don't think it was very long after that, then Cindy turned it into a community garden, added it to her repertoire of other community gardens throughout the area. But what we're going to talk about this today, or this evening, whenever you're tuning in, is this ministry of community gardens and how they benefit the Beechwood neighborhood. And really, you deliver food from a long ways away. It's more than Beechwood. So, Cindy, could you tell us a little bit about your neighborhood community garden ministry and
Sure.
how it evolved?
Yeah, so about 8-9 years ago, we were approached by FoodLink that had received a grant from the state for 5 years, and they asked if we wanted to be part of a trial garden program. And so we decided that sounded like a good idea. We were into experimenting at that point. Because we had, like many urban churches, I think we had a lot of challenges in terms of numbers. And so that experimentation led to taking down some trees, scrub trees that were at the church, and we put in, I think, 12, 13 raised beds. All of our raised beds are pretty much 4 to 8 feet, 4 by 8. And to my surprise, because I was pretty sure that it was not going to be successful. I thought what would happen is, like every other thing that we had done that required volunteers, is that people would get really excited at first. So we would be able to put the garden in around May or June. And then in August, I was going to be out there, trying to keep these gardens alive. And I was proven wrong. I've been proven wrong lots. And they took off, and people were enthusiastic about them. And it was a way for us to literally get out of the building, a place that had become kind of our bunker in a sense, because people had gotten scared of the neighborhood. And so it was an expression. It was great because it allowed my preaching to come alive. And don't be afraid, and we're called to connect with people. And I've often said that people, every once in a while somebody, I don't know how it is with you, but they'll stop and talk to me on the street about maybe a faith issue or something like that, but it's very rare for me. What they will do, however, is stop and talk to me about their grandmother's tomato plants, their eggplants, and so it's a great conversation starter. It's a great conversation starter with people outside of kind of clergy, which is fantastic. And things just took off from one year to the next, and we were able to secure a couple of grants. And so now we have seven community gardens. 6 of them are in the Beechwood neighborhood, and keeps us busy in the summer.
But I've noticed too, and I don't know if the one on Merchants is the only one, but you combine it with other things. Like there's a library of one of the little, what do you call the?
Free little library.
Free little libraries. Yeah. I've seen neighborhood people. I don't know if you say it's a community garden, and I know you sell some of the produce on Saturday mornings at the corner of your lot. But if a neighbor came by and says, "Oh, there's a nice ripe tomato,"
take it, pick it,
wow.
Harvest it. So everything in our gardens, that's why we have put some fences up, but they're only in the back of the lots, to kind of, we talk to our neighbors, and if it's something that they've always wanted to have a fence, because the nice side of the fence, because of coding, the city codes, is always going to face our neighbors. And so we've used money to put fences up, but we don't have fences that keep people out of the lot. So people can come in and hopefully they harvest, pretty close to correctly, but if not, that's okay too. And we try to weigh as much of the produce as possible, just so we have an idea of from year to year what it is. We average about 4,500 pounds of produce a year.
4,500
pounds. Yeah.
Wow.
And we, a lot of that goes out in our food shelf, which we have on Wednesdays. We've done emergency food deliveries. As a result of the pandemic, we would put fresh vegetables in those packages throughout the year, throughout the growing season, and then our farm stand on Saturday mornings, which was fun.
And you don't, I don't want to say mess with, but you don't get into canning or freezing or,
Yeah, we haven't, because there's health codes around all those pieces. But we're actually, this year, we've started some herb drying in our grow room, because we have our own grow room where we start our seeds in the spring. So a lot of what we plant in the springtime are seedlings because of that. So we have everything on timers, and we have water, and so we've wanted to use that room more than just the 1-2 months out of the year. And so we've gotten we have amazing partners, and some people who are really interested in herbs and know the medicinal characteristics of those, and so I'm constantly learning. And so I think that they are drying those, and we're going to have small packages of those at the farm stand that we can just do education around and that good stuff.
So this farm stand is open on the corner of Culver and Rosewood.
Yep.
And stop by on a Saturday morning. What are the
it's
times?
From 9:30 to 12:30. We have recipe cards that we've done to go with veggies that that you're less familiar with, and we also have the herb cards that some of our folks have created, so we know what to do with rosemary other than smell it.
Right, exactly. So I'm curious, I mean, this looks quite lush. I'm sure you've been happy about the weather in July. I see, from what I know, because I haven't been around the garden since I was in grade school. Yeah. I see tomatoes. I see squash.
Squash is right here.
Yeah.
And then these are collards.
Oh.
And these are beets.
Oh, okay. And more collards. Does every community garden grow the same thing and the same kind of?
Not necessarily. So each one of the gardens has a captain, or they a set of co-captains, and then they kind of manage their team, and they have one day a week at least a set day and time that their team will come out and do gardening. So early on, usually in the winter, they decide what they want to plant, and then Harris Seeds, who has been super generous with us, gives us a lot of the seeds that you now see. Yeah.
Well, it's very impressive, and like I said, I'm not a gardener. I aspire to be. I mean, I think in my heart I would like to be. But so did you have a green thumb? I mean, have you always?
When I was a kid, I grew up in a rural area, and my grandfather had a big garden. My dad kind of had a medium-sized garden, and then I went off to school, and I figured I'd probably never garden again. And God had different plans.
Right.
So, and I was sure I wasn't going to garden again when I got called to a city parish.
Right, exactly.
And I was so wrong, once again, like I've been many times.
I love how that works. So when you think about, so you have these co-captains.
Yeah.
And so you have 14 people working on these different, kind of taking ownership of the, do they get to pick what they want to plant, and these teams come in, people come by. And then I know in the fall, because I've often driven by just your garden up by the church, and I think, what are you going to do with all of those dried leaves and those?
Yeah.
What do you do with all?
So those are great composting material. So we compost. We've learned a lot about how to give back to the earth, and so that's, I mean, in weeks, that big mass of stuff gets reduced into what a lot of gardeners call black gold, because we get to use that then in the spring to plant seeds.
Kind of mix in with.
Yeah.
Do you have to, see, here's my lack of gardening knowledge coming out. So you add the compost to the existing soil, or do you have to bring in, okay.
Yeah, so normally in the spring, we do have compost delivered. We've ordered less and less every year because of our ability to be able to produce more compost. But we usually we top the beds off now, and then plant on top of that.
And because Bob, I don't know if you can kind of pan over here. I see 3 compost bins. Is there a difference between? I'm assuming that's what it is.
It is.
So it looks like 3 people signed their little, made their little signature. But so that's what you mulch up and use just for this garden, or does every garden, I guess, have a compost?
We've used this one on site for just this garden. We have another large compost at our Denver training garden, and we're in the process of getting the funds to create other ones in each of the gardens, so we can just immediately throw things in the fall into those. And the big thing with composting is you need to turn it to create the temperature,
right,
in order to break it down.
Yeah.
So you need. So we also have. We encourage people to take a bucket here from the garden, and people put in scraps, no meat products or anything like that, but like the scraps of fruit or things like that. And then we toss that into the compost bin, and that helps activate what we need to activate to get it broken down.
Well, I'm looking at this concrete pad.
Yes.
And Covenant has had in one of its closets since, whatever, year 2000 something, a shed that used to sit on that concrete pad. So, the world comes, you just never know how things are going to come around.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is a Denver training garden?
So the Denver training garden is between Hazelwood and Melville. It's actually 2 lots, and we use that for our soup Summer of Opportunity kids through the city. We use that as a place that they can be educated about, how to grow things, how science, math. We have a larger shed there, and there's wet dry board inside, and so we have people come out and share things that are when kids are sitting in class and they're like, when are we ever going to use this stuff? We give them some ideas of how they can use this stuff. Yeah.
That is so cool. So this is just a lot more than planting a few tomato plants. And I mean, what I'm hearing is kind of more of a, as we were saying this morning, interviewing Jeremy and Joyce from the Freedom Scholars Learning Center. You're looking at a more of a holistic approach to how you integrate a community garden into the community.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to become involved in this and figure out, gee, I'd really like to learn how to garden, or I am a gardener, but I live in the city and I don't have one, or how can they get involved?
They can go to our website, which is stmarks and andstjohns.org, and we have volunteer kind of sign up. Another thing that we do a lot of is groups. If groups want to come out for the day or a few hours, so we have 40 kids coming in a week and a half from Buffalo area, a couple of churches that are doing a summer project. So that's going to happen. We have 10, 12 kids, actually not kids, adults from Excelis, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Their team leader wanted to do a project, a service project, and so we're going to do, provide that opportunity for them. And when people come out to us, we try to give them some education around food justice issues, issues around like redlining, things like that are, have been historically, unfortunately true, and created a harsh reality for a lot of folks, no fault of their own.
Right.
And so that's a piece of it too. So I always say it's about the vegetables, but it's not about just about the vegetables.
Right.
Just.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing is, one, it can be a lot of work. It can be a lot of fun. It can be rewarding, and it's a calling.
It's a calling, like so much in life is.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true. Well, we actually changed our definition of membership at the church 2 years ago in our bylaws. So it used to be members, attended worship regularly, and now it's, if you consider St. Mark's and St. John's your spiritual home, you can volunteer and consider that your kind of connectedness to the divine in your life, and hopefully we're a place that can provide an opportunity for you to go deeper, just like Covenant does, and so many places that are doing really good work.
I think that's how so many urban churches are going to, I don't want to say survive, but manage to thrive, is to just be that kind of resource for the community, spiritual and physical, whether it's your community garden or the blessing box, but there's a way that people feel, build that trust and sensitivity to how God works in our lives, which is pretty amazing.
It is
amazing.
Well, so much has, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So much has changed over the years, I think, of our understanding of what mission is, and the thing that I really like about these gardens is we kind of come to the gardens knowing that there's a lot that people, there's a lot for me to learn about everything, and so we're open to how we can be transformed, instead of feeling like or have kind of the mission of, we're going to go save a group of people, and I just don't think that's what Jesus had in mind.
I don't either.
So, and it's not as much fun as the way we're doing it now.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me I know a hymn that starts with "In the Garden" or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, Cindy, so if we have people ways for if people want to volunteer, what if they say, I have a really bad back, I can't do any gardening, but I'd really like to help in some way. Is there also a donate button on your website?
There is.
Okay.
There is a donate button. That's very kind. There's a donate button. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's just some people that I know that's the way they're able to be a part of it, and it's an important way in so many ways.
Right.
That they can give, you can receive, and we start that wheel rolling.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Cindy, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
this
welcome.
is great, and if there's ever any truth to the fact that through God and the Holy Spirit, something that Covenant had thought we had lost years ago, and didn't turn out as well as we would have liked, turned into something wonderful.
Amen.
So have a good evening, and thank you for joining us.